3.
Hey, you tuned in to Straight to the Point with the Eminem Boys. This is Mitchell along with Millwood.
What up?
Hey, what's going on, young world? Hey, we're back in the building, y'all. Hey, we had some wonderful talk about boxers, man. What's relevant, what's not relevant. But this is on my mind, and we're going to switch topics for a quick second. And my boy, Mike Vick. All the ATL loves him. You know, we talked about the 285 champ. I would like to say Mike Vick is the 285, the Atlanta champ. He held the crown when he was here. But, you know, we've seen some disturbing trends with him and concussions, and he's not going to be playing in this next game. We don't know how long he's going to be out. And so my question is, have we seen the last of Mike Vick? Is this the last that we've seen him in a starting role?
Now, can I say something real quick?
Sure.
The reason why I think Mike Vick is not going to play in this game and the other guys are going to play, because they're losing. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he might have been hurt. I think he got a concussion. But it's better for them to sit down and say he's not playing in the next game because he had a serious concussion versus we're benching him just to give the other guy a chance to see what he can do. So it's like we're going to take advantage of this opportunity to get this other guy a shot. Now, one thing that always bothered me is how come, and I had an answer, and I don't 100% agree with this answer, but why they don't criticize the offensive line as much as they do Michael Vick?
Well, you know what? And that's a very important question. And I guess it goes back to one of our previous topics that we have, is that we had spoke about previously last week, and it goes back to the black quarterback, is that the black quarterback is so polarized, is that you either love him or you don't love him. And I think we just look at him and say, well, he's supposed to get things done just by his natural ability, and we never take a look at the surrounding pieces of what he has around him. And I think it's way bigger than the offensive line. I think it goes back to the head coach and Andy Reid. What I've always said, that you can't take a circle and try to fit it into a square piece. I mean, we all know Michael Vick as a runner. We all know Michael Vick gets out that pocket and he makes things happen. He electrifies the audience. He's a crowd pleaser. He's once in a generation quarterback that we've seen that could do things that we thought no other person can do on the football field. And then you try to take this, so to say, wild lion that's just raw, has natural ability, and you try to make him a drop back passer, and you just can't do that. So, and not only that, but like you said, you surround him with an inferior offensive line, and then you say, go out there and win me games. I just think that it's bad from an organizational standpoint. I think some heads are going to roll behind this, and actually, I'm kind of glad to a certain degree that Mike Vick he's going to be sitting out, so we can see, hey, is it the head coach? Is it a Mike Vick thing? Is it an offensive line thing? Is it a general manager thing? Millwood, what do you think about the situation?
I just have one thing to say. $100 million. That's what they're paying Mike Vick. That's what they expect him to do it. I agree with you to the point that the offensive line that the Philadelphia Eagles have is suspect. They went into the draft this year and they spent a lot of their draft picks on the offensive line. They spent a lot of draft picks, not last year, but they spent a lot of money on defensive backs last year. They spent a lot on defense, but they still did not do what they're supposed to do with the offensive line. And even when Mike Vick was in Atlanta, he did not have a good offensive line. He hasn't been on a team with a really good offensive line. Now, if you look back at Mike Vick's past, okay, when he started with the Atlanta Falcons, his first year, he did great. Oh, wow, he's unstoppable. But then after that, it kind of went downhill. It's like they knew what type of person they were dealing with. When he came back from prison and he started with the Philadelphia Eagles, it was like, well, we can't stop this guy. What can we do? But ever since that, it's been downhill with him.
And you know one thing, Andy Reid is supposed to be like the quarterback guru as a coach. That's his specialty. You know, some coaches are defensive minded, some people offensive minded, some must come from special teams. Andy Reid is the quarterback guru. He got, you know, Michael Vick to, when he dropped back, he got the stance. His stance is correct. He's throwing his shoulders. He's stepping into the pass. He's doing all this other thing, but it kind of reminds me of the movie Glory Road, when Derek Luke told us, you know, as one of the lead characters said, they're beating us playing your game. And I think that, and I heard I argued this last week. They don't know what to do with him, and I think that it takes a person like Tony Dungy to come in and build a team around him. And the reason why I say Tony Dungy, because Tony Dungy is one of those ones that he's more of a strategist. He'll sit back, look at the talent that we have, and let's make it work. He the one came out with this smaller but faster defense. He did it in Tampa and he did it with the Colts. I think that you need to probably start thinking more of that, in line of that, when you come into the offensive line. Michael Vick is running, 4.3, 4.4, maybe he probably 4.4, 40 now because he's a little older. But he's running so fast, and then you got a lineman running, 6-second 40s. He can't keep up with him when Vick rolls out. He's not going to be able to do it. So maybe you need to get smaller, faster tackles, much smaller but faster tight ends.
Well, you know what? While I definitely agree with you on that particular point, but only to a certain degree, because also the quarterback, Michael Vick, has to have some accountability for his play on the field. All right, even though he's played behind a subpar offensive line in Philly, I have to disagree with Millwood and say that while his time here in Atlanta, I won't say the offensive line was subpar. I just think it was a byproduct of Mike Vick not taking the time, putting the time to read defenses. And not only that, but he played to his strength. Dan Reeves put in an offense that played to Michael Vick's strength, and that was take a look at your first read, take a look at your second read. If it's not there, pull the ball down and you run.
But you also have to understand that, and if you look back at when he was here in Atlanta, there were a lot of drop passes.
There were a lot of drop passes, but you take that into effect and you look at the big scheme of things. His best success was here in Atlanta, but yet his best talent is in Philadelphia. Why is that? And I think that speaks to AJ's point, is that it starts from a coaching standpoint. And Andy Reid is not the coach for Michael Vick. Like I said, Michael Vick has to take into accountability of who he is and what kind of quarterback that he is. And to that degree, you have a glass ceiling on what you can do with Mike Vick. And let's be real, while Mike Vick will take you to the playoffs, Mike Vick will put butts in the seats. He'll sell out whatever stadium he goes to. But at the end of the day, he's not a quarterback that's going to get you to the Super Bowl. He's just not that guy. And you have to be honest with that realization and understand he has a glass ceiling. And until Michael Vick understands that Michael Vick needs to learn how to throw the ball, and that no running quarterback in the modern Super Bowl era has never won a Super Bowl being a running quarterback, then that's something that he's going to have to come to grips with.
Okay,
that's not a head coach thing. That's a Michael Vick thing.
I have a question. You take Mike Vick. Now, you take Tony Romo and put him in behind the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. Would the Eagles have a better record now?
Absolutely, positively, yes, because Tony Romo is more equipped to run that particular offense than Mike Vick.
Now, this is where I'm going to come in, and I understand I can visualize Romo with the Eagles with the same situation, but this is one thing that I totally agree. Football is the ultimate team sport.
Correct.
It's the ultimate team sport. Michael Jordan came in. He was with Chicago. Michael Jordan, everybody else wasn't, doing what they're supposed to do or wasn't stepping up, Michael Jordan put the team on his shoulder, and he's going to tote them to a championship. Football, you can't do that. I don't care if they gave Vic $200 million, unless Vic is the from planet somewhere with the coming here with the S on his chest and he got the blue red cape and whatever. He's not going to be able to do it. It's the ultimate team sport. Everybody has to work together. Everybody has to follow. Every aspect of the team has to fire on all cylinders. Special team, the defense, the offense. Everybody has to fire on all cylinders. You can't come in there. How many teams have been, the offense have been lacking, but the special team turned around and stepped it up? How many times where the offense been lacking, special team lacking, but the defense turned around and won it for them? It's the ultimate team sport.
It takes a team. But as a quarterback, you're the leader of that particular team. And speaking to Michael Vick specifically, how many more years are we going to make excuses for this cat? How many more years are we going to keep going on saying it's because of the offensive line, it's because of the head coach, it's because of this, it's because of that? Either you get it done or you don't get it done. Just pure and simple. I mean, this dude is going on 32 years old. His best days are definitely behind him. So either you adapt to what's around you or you fall by the wayside. It's just that simple. And Michael Vick has not done that. He is a below. If you take a look at his completion rate is below average for an average quarterback.
Now, I kind of don't understand. I don't know how I feel about that comment, but because I think the first half of the season, pre-prison, it was on him. It was his fault. His immaturity. He was the last one to practice, first one to leave. He didn't want to work out like he's supposed to. He admitted it. So I think that situation was that was on him. Now, the post-prison, I'm not sure if it's all his fault. I think his maturity level has came to where it need to be. But I think now he's found himself in the wrong situation. Maybe but now you got to think about before Vic in Philadelphia. They wasn't able to get it done. And everybody, they pointed finger at Donovan. And now Donovan's not there, and now they're still pointing the finger. And I think that maybe because of him coming out of prison, Philadelphia was maybe a better fit for him because of the situation that the baggage that he was coming to the organization with. Maybe Philadelphia was the best the fit for him with that baggage. But I think if he got traded from Atlanta and had a pick of any other team, I don't think Philadelphia would have been that team for him.
Look, the bottom line with this whole thing is Andy Reid is still mourning his son, and that he's like, I just can't coach.
Now, what Andy Reid's son was? He's a junkie or a drug addict or something.
Yeah, he died of overdose. He's still
mourning his
son.
Well, yeah, he doesn't care right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I won't say that he doesn't care, but I agree that he hasn't had time to properly mourn, and I think he tried to indulge himself on the football aspect of it to take away that loss, and it just hasn't happened. But you know, it goes back to my original statement, which is twofold. It starts with the individual. Okay, you have to make yourself a polished product. B, it also depends upon the system and the head coach that you're dealing with. So I think it's twofold here. I think it's because if you look at, like you said, pre-prison, when Michael Vick was here in Atlanta, he had the organization behind him, and also the head coach that catered to his particular style of quarterbacking, but he didn't put in the time to be an effective quarterback. Now what you're seeing is that he put in the time, but he doesn't have the organization behind him by means of surrounding him with the proper pieces, i.e. offensive line, offensive scheme, head coach to support him.
Well, let me ask you this, Mitchell. If we take Michael Vick and put him behind your Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, would you think he can take them to the Super Bowl?
Well, see, that's my thing. It's a philosophical difference because Michael Vick is a different quarterback. So therefore you have to create an offensive scheme that fits his talent.
Well, what's his scheme then? What's his scheme?
His scheme is that, and it has always been, he does not put in the time to make the proper reads. When you go to your first read, your second read, I go to my third read, then I check down.
The quarterbacks who do that have time. Michael Vick, you learn how to buy time. Come on, let's be honest now. If you look at every Super Bowl winning team, every perennial playoff team, they have not had the greatest line. Matter of fact, I use Big Ben as a prime example because for the past 2 to 3 years, our offensive line has been below par. I won't say horrible, but it's been below par. But what's the one signature of Big Ben? He buys time in the pocket. His eyes are hard to bring down.
No. That too. But he buys time in the pocket, and his eyes are downfield. You can't throw the ball downfield if you're not looking downfield. Mike Vick sees directly of what's in front of him, and it has a lot to do with his physical impediment, being that the guy is only 5'11". Also, he's injury prone, being that the guy is no more than 205 pounds. He's not quarterback material to get you to the Super Bowl. A good player? Yes. Exciting player? Yes. Great player? No, he is not. I just think he will always be an enigma to who he is and to the quarterback position.
Andy Reid, stop mourning about your son in coach football.
But we definitely agree. Andy Reid definitely has to go. Hey, y'all, you're tuned in to Straight to the Point. This is Mitchell along with Millwood. Hey, we'll be right back with more great sports talk right after this message.